Big win over Spurs as we look at the tail of the tape. Chelsea with a slight edge in possession, but they won't care about that, as the victory is massive when it comes for that Champions League chase. Chelsea jumping from 6th to 4th on the strength of 3 points they pick up today, leapfrogging Manchester City. Again, it looks like it'll be the top 5 into the Champions League. What about Spurs? Yeah, that's when we have to go to the bottom half of the Premier League table. No threat of relegation, but gosh, it's not a pretty picture there for Spurs. 14th in the table through 30 matches played in this Premier League season. For more on this, we welcome into the show Don Hutchison as well as Jan Aga Fjortoft. We'll dive into the game and everything that has to do with it in just a second. But first, because we've heard that Ange Postecoglou didn't think that the goal by Papassar should have been overturned, I got to ask you guys, does anybody see it that way?
I think Mr. Postecoglou's on an island on his own.
Really? Was that clear for you?
Yeah, I'm with Shaka. When it happened in real time, I thought it was a goal. I wasn't sure whether it was a foul or not.
The biggest question to this was how long it took the referee to make the decision. Because you see one replay, and it is absolutely clear. I didn't think there was any doubt in anyone's mind at that point. And as I said, in real time, at first look, I thought that no foul goal stands. From the time you see the first replay, you know. But for some reason, it took the referee about somewhere between 4 and 5 minutes, and I do not think I'm
I think they're going back there on whether it should be yellow or red.
Well, I thought even a yellow was overdoing it. I thought it's a foul, right? Caicedo tries to put his body between man and ball, and he gets clipped. It's a foul. I didn't think it was anything more egregious than that. But this kind of leans into some of the frustration around VAR. There was absolutely no reason for the game to be stopped for 5 minutes. Absolutely none. No way the goal should have stood as well. So I'm with Stevie in that. I don't know what Postecoglou is thinking there.
Don, does Ange have a case here?
No, he's got no case. I think the biggest talking point was Robert Sanchez was a very lucky man in goal, because it feels like to me Chelsea going nowhere fast. He got lucky that goal got disallowed. It was something that was quite difficult to try and spot in real time. Hasn't been a good couple of nights for VAR. I think the referee tonight, Craig Pawson, once he got sent to VAR, which was a good intervention from VAR, telling him to go to the screen, surely it's got to be done a lot quicker, because you can still see by one still image, and we shouldn't go just off still images, but you can tell a lot sometimes by a still image. You saw that with Tarkowski's tackle last night, and the still image it looked awful. When you see Papassar committing the foul on Caicedo tonight on the still image, you know it's a foul. Then it must just take 1 or 2 little angles just to clarify your decision. It took far too long, but Ange has got no case, I'm afraid.
Jan, I don't know if you picked this up on the broadcast, but we could kind of hear it here. There's a moment in the game where there seems to be a back and forth between Ange and the Spurs fans. It really seems like there's almost nobody left in his corner. Do you sense that when you watch this?
Yes, and that's why I also will defend Postecoglou, because when he comes off that pitch, he knows he's a man under big pressure. Just to see the last 3 minutes of the game, there was 12 minutes added, and Tottenham kept on playing short passes. They put Romero in front, they still kept on play short passes. And I mean, you don't have to have more proof to see a plan B. And then on the press conference, he started talking about Pochettino. I guess he's got enough job to do in USA, by the way. So I don't see, maybe we'll have him quicker back than nobody thinks. But Postecoglou is under pressure. But the game in all, I think Chelsea deserved to win that. There was a game of kind of moments that I love as a football lover. I think that cross from Palmer for the goal, fantastic. That was a worthy quarterback of Palmer. And Shaka as a goalkeeper, I think that Vicario save, I mean, that could be a candidate for save of the season. I think that was a fantastic save. Chelsea puts pressure on Manchester City. They put pressure on Newcastle. That was a great game for the Blues at the Bridge, and I think they deservedly won that. And Postecoglou played, was it 4 times now, Chelsea, and it never took a point against them.
Stevie, what do you see with this Spurs team? I mean, there was a time when they said, Andrew's going to get his guys back, and things will get sorted out. He got his guys back. Has the bleeding stopped in any way?
Well, I think what is totally clear is that the complaints around Ange and Spurs have completely shifted from you're not going to win games playing this way, you know, this open, attacking, full-backs playing like wingers, you know, leaving holes, and it's great to watch, but, you know, it's just too risky.
Now it's not even great to watch.
Now there's nothing. now there's nothing to complain about other than, do you know what? Even though they weren't winning, they used to be good to watch because you were guaranteed thrills and spills and chances and attack after attack. Now, it almost seems like they have completely lost their way. They don't know where to play it long to Solanke. They don't know where they overdo it short, with Maddison coming too short. I mean, they've just lost the spark that was the only thing that we were holding on to with Ange and his team. That spark is gone. It's completely, to use Mr. Dan Thomas's word, mediocre. And I never thought I would feel like apologising to Dan Thomas after watching this game.
The rhetoric here is that the Europa League could save Ange's job, Shaka. Is there any way that this team, based on what we saw today, what we've seen over the last months, can win even the Europa League?
Well, as we sit right now, I don't think Spurs will win the Europa League, but stranger things have happened in football. And then the normal rule of thumb is you win silverware, you get to keep your job for a little bit longer, maybe.
Certainly, it's Spurs.
Well, yeah, maybe the honeymoon period to start next season is a little bit shorter, even if you do, even if you do win silverware. So, first of all, if Spurs don't win the Europa League, I don't think there's any chance that Ange Postecoglou is Spurs manager come July, August next year. If they win silverware, then all of a sudden Daniel Levy and the ownership have a decision to make. Now, again, normal rule of thumb, you win silverware, you get to keep your job at least for a little while longer. But there is nothing about Spurs' performance that suggests that anything is going to get better. That all of a sudden the recruitment in the summer is going to turn this version of Spurs into one that is competing, looking for the top 4, top 5, or whatever it may be. And given the fact that I do not think that there is a lengthy list of managers to replace Postecoglou with the ability to deliver the kind of season that Spurs intend for, you've got to make your move right now. As we sit, Iraola is candidate number 1. Outside of that, I'm not sure who's second. And if that's the case, then you've got to make that move this summer.
All right, enough on the team currently 14th in the table. Let's talk about the team that jumped up to 4th. Don, this was a must-win for Chelsea. Maybe it wasn't pretty, but they delivered.
Yeah, just a very quick one on Ange and how many games he's lost this season. 16 he's lost. I've never known a Tottenham manager. It must be a club record that they've lost 16 games in the season. But on Chelsea, I think it was all about the win. I thought they were very flat in the Arsenal game a fortnight ago. They were very, very average. They lost the game 1-0, but they lost to an Arsenal side that were in second gear. They needed the win tonight because the race for the top 5 is on. You can go all the way to Villa, who are in fantastic form. Some of their star players or best players were back. Nicholas Jackson led the line. I thought Cole Palmer was superb. I mean, the lads will tell you when you watch Chrissy Waddle back in the day, he reminds me of him, the way he plays with the sort of swagger that he's got and the football intelligence and the areas and the quality that he picks up and the crosses that he puts in and his vision, etc. I think he's a wonderful player to watch. So from a Chelsea point of view, I don't think it was a great game in terms of the first 45 minutes, to be honest. I think the second half was a whole lot better. But for Chelsea now, and I think it just gets to a point where if you're Liverpool going up at the top, if you're a team trying to get out the bottom 3, you get to this point where there's 8-9 games to go in the season. Sometimes performances don't really matter. It's all about churning out the wins. And if Chelsea can keep winning every week, it'll give them a great chance for Champions League football next season.
Jan, how do you like Chelsea's top 5 chances?
Well, first of all, I can just tell you that Tottenham will be knocked out by my Eintracht Frankfurt in the next round of the Europa League. I would just put that. Now, I think that it's a point. The jurors is still out there how good Jackson is. Is he the goal scorer can take them all the way? But he stretched the team so he makes more space for the midfielders, for Palmer to have more space and all that thing. But you see the next games coming out now: Brentford, Ipswich, Fulham, Everton. I mean, there are points there to be taken. But as Don is saying, now it's all about your state of mind, the pressure. You see Manchester City, I mean, the reigning champion, they are struggling. Even against Leicester, you think, well, they can win 4 or 5-0. but they're all teams are stretching, are struggling in this stage of the season. So it's been a roller coaster season for Chelsea. Started so well, then I had a period they were all gone, and now they're back in it again somehow. I love this race in there, and I think that there are key persons, like you have to have Jackson scoring some goals for you. You need a striker to do that. You have Cole Palmer to be that quarterback for them, and then have to have that strength at the back, not conceding. And I think what Shaka was saying, Don was saying, with Sanchez being the luckiest man on the earth on that free kick, because that was bad goalkeeping, and that could have cost them two very valuable points in the race for Champions League.
Stevie, does Chelsea need Champions League to look at this as a successful season?
100%. Yeah.
But before the season, I don't think a lot of people had Chelsea pegged for a Champions League spot.
No, but they kind of put themselves in a position where it looked like they were odds on to get in the top four. And considering the money they've spent, then they have to be in the top four. I mean, it's kind of unthinkable that this Chelsea side could end up in the, well, not the conference, but in the Europa League. The Europa League is not why Todd Bowley and all these other board members paid billions, not just to buy the club.
You say it's unthinkable based on money spent, not based on what we've seen in the table. I mean, based on the table, they could easily slip.
Well, no, we have seen them based on the on performance. Before Christmas, I think they were second at one point.
Yeah.
And they were second because they were playing some fantastic attacking football. And then we hit Christmas, and somehow somebody's got just sucked the life out of them. They've gone flat since then. And somehow they've managed to still be in the race. And again today, without being brilliant, certainly better than the opposition, but without being brilliant, they get 3 points and they find themselves in the top four. So, yeah, they have to Chelsea has to get in the Champions League.
To your point, Sebi, absolutely. To start the season, I don't think many people... Well, I'm not sure what the expectation was around Chelsea. Kind of given...
Wasn't a slam dunk Champions League.
No, it wasn't. But then nobody expected City to be as poor as they were. Nobody expected... I don't want to say Arsenal as... Everybody thought that there'd be three teams would run away at the top of the league, and it would be a fight between those three. And then it's...
Chelsea would be in with everybody else.
Exactly. Who comes next? And the bigger question was, well, who's in there next? Now to see Nottingham Forest, albeit a surprise package, in where they are, and Chelsea kind of hanging in many ways, not playing well, but somehow getting results. It just feels, and then to Stevie's point, come November, December, there were two really good teams in the league in Liverpool and Chelsea. Liverpool, while not playing great right now, they're just so far ahead. We know what to expect of them. And Chelsea have fallen off, and it really just feels now, 4 months later, they're just kind of hanging on to that top four. I'm not sure they're going to make it.
Does that help, and I don't want to do this, does that help Dan Thomas's argument on the show yesterday that it's been kind of a mediocre Premier League season?
To that point, Stevie's been on edge all day long. Chelsea playing Spurs, and Stevie spent the day shouting at the TV. I don't know what Dan did to Steve yesterday. I can't.
Well, do you know what? I'll tell you. Do you know why I was? Because the first 3 minutes of the game, I'm rubbing my hands and I'm thinking, take that, Dan Thomas. You got Jackson nearly scoring, nearly after 30 seconds, and then straight from that you got Heung-min Son way up the wing on the other end, and I'm rubbing my hands and going, right, Thomas, you're getting that.
And he's not even
This is going to be a fantastic game. And then somebody just pulled the plug, and the whole thing went completely flat. And so that's why it was frustrating, because it's just in that short period of time, both teams actually showed us what they're capable of. But then it magically all disappeared. So frustrating.
But
go ahead, Jan.
But I think you can make some argument. There is one of the big surprise of the season is Manchester City, that they are so terrible this season. That is the biggest surprise. There's even a bigger surprise maybe than Forest. But still, Forest have gone from being 17th in the Premier League last season to now be third, and deservedly being in the third position. And we have talked about Chelsea. That they have been going around. I remember we discussed, can they win the league? I mean, they could be there. Then they go away, and then still can manage to get into the Champions League. Arsenal would thought that, wow, if Manchester City slips up, we'll be there. Well, they thought that, well, let's go through the season without a striker. So I think that you can make an argue, but I think that the argue is that the last season where you had Arsenal and Manchester City winning every game. We remember the drama. We remember Ortega 1-against-1 at Tottenham Stadium. So there were so many things happening last season, but this, I think that somebody will say mediocre. I'm not saying Dan doing that, but I think that some of them try to take down the performance of Liverpool Football Club, because Liverpool have had a great season. And now people try to be wise here. We all knew that. No, nobody knew that after Jurgen Klopp, Arne Slot will just come in and make champions. So that is a great performance. So let's discuss the real fact. Liverpool have had a great season.
Don, what about Manchester City and all this? They're 5th right now. Newcastle behind them, Aston Villa behind them. Any chance with Erling Haaland out for the time being that City drop out of these Champions League spots?
No, I was looking at the fixtures before, and when you look at Man City's fixtures from now to the end of the season, they're very kind. I'd expect Man City after the derby, which will always be tough, but I still expect them to beat Man United because they're a very poor side who don't score goals. But after that, I mean, Crystal Palace are the probably conundrum in that. Them and Everton are in good form, but at the same time, the Villa one might be a test, but I still think City will take enough points from them games compared to when you look at what Newcastle have got from now to the end of the season. Very difficult fixtures. Chelsea from now to the end of the season, difficult fixtures. So you can see a scenario where the likes of Newcastle and Chelsea sort of all end up beating each other. Villa are in that equation as well. They're probably one of the form sides, but their fixtures are not kind. So there could be a scenario where the teams that are trying to catch Man City all take points off each other. Therefore, half by default, and the fixtures that City have got, I think they're nailed on for top 4. I think 5th obviously will get enough because the coefficient is strong. But then I think you can stick a pin in one team from 4 who's going to make that 5th spot. Newcastle have got a game in hand, so if they win their game in hand, they'll go back into the top 4. So it's all very much to play for. But I expect City to make Champions League for sure.
Shaka, what about Newcastle? Right now, just on the outside, looking in, 6th.
Yeah. Look,
like that run-in?
To Don's point, this is a tough run-in. At home at St James's Park, I think for the most part, you fancy Newcastle, but then you're away to Aston Villa, who have top 4, top 5 ambitions themselves. You're away to Brighton, who are still there or thereabouts, and whichever way are a tough proposition. You're away to Arsenal. That, though, second to last game of the season, you expect at that point Liverpool have been crowned champions, given their guard of honour. What version of Arsenal shows up, who knows? I know exactly what me and Don are thinking or hoping from Arsenal, the second to last game of the season. So that for me is your uncertainty, and you wait to see there. But of course, and again, at St James's Park, right before that Arsenal game, Newcastle play Chelsea. So you have Newcastle arguably with their feet in their hand, given that they go to Aston Villa, they're home to Chelsea, good results in those, all but guarantees a top 5 finish.
Stevie, give me your top 5 as of today.
Ooh. Oh my goodness. I mean,
Your 3 are locked on.
Liverpool, Arsenal and Forest are locked on. I agree with Don with the fixtures that even though Haaland's injured and going to be out for a bit, they'll have enough with the fixtures they have. And that 5th spot, wow.
Newcastle.
Go on.
I'd love to see Newcastle. I'd like to see Newcastle because I think of all the 3 sides, Chelsea, Newcastle and Villa, that I think will be fighting for that. They're the team I like to watch more than the other 2. So for that reason, I'm going to say Newcastle.
Ask for predictions for the Manchester Derby on Sunday. Nobody picked Manchester United to win except for one, Jan Agafjortov. So explain that to me, Jan. You think City's going to have a wobble down the stretch here?
Yeah, I think they would. I think that Manchester United, these are the games that they can play to their potential, and we'll see what the potential are. I got a feeling that Manchester City, and yes, I see the fixtures. Don made good points on that, but I've seen Manchester City this season in so many games, even at home against the weaker team, struggle when they have so much possession. They somehow haven't managed to do that. Remember when they played Fulham at home, Wolverhampton at home. They couldn't break. They won, but that was the start. That was the pre-crisis for them. So I got a feeling that the Manchester derby, that Manchester United could win this. But I'm with you guys that I think Manchester City will go through. I think they will take the 4th position. They could catch Forest, maybe based on that fixture list and so on, but Forest got enough. And as a former or as a Borough boy, I shouldn't tip on Newcastle, but I got a feeling that enthusiasm they've done after winning the Carabao Cup with Isaac and everything, I think the key game was to win that game after the parade, after the parties, after the trophy, to win against Brentford. Of course, Tonali tried to do that. Yeah, right.
Jan. Tell me where Man United are going to score 2 goals. They don't score all season, man.
But done, absolutely. Go for the
Where?
safe bet,
Who?
and you're so fair. That's fair. I think that Manchester United will find a way to break down Manchester City.
I know your
Just
game.
Send
your
me
game.
a text, because I think I've seen City so many games this season struggling when they try to break down possession, and everybody can win against Leicester. To be fair, Don, we could have won against Leicester at the moment.
Jan, I know you inside out, and what you're doing, you're playing the Frank
You know me
LaBeouf
inside
card.
out.
I do. You're playing the Frank LaBeouf card. You're going for the wild one to look like a genius if it comes off. That's what you're going for there.
It's only the. I have played with Don Hutchison at Sheffield United, and I will only say one quote: "It's only the thief who sees who's stealing." So yes, thank you, Don, for that analysis.
GMO MOL statement, which is not only should it have been reviewed, it should have been a red card. Your thoughts, Stevie?
Surprise, surprise.
At least they got it.
I mean,
at least
even
they got it today. a day
even
late.
they couldn't defend their own.
No.
It's indefensible, quite frankly, and not a surprise. And had they come out and said anything other than what they did,
Sure.
they would have been laughed out the building.
Don, production tells me you were on the call for this game. What did you see when you saw it live?
I called it straight away, and Sam Barrett should have spotted it straight away. If Sam Barrett's a very promising young referee, but he'll learn from that because he has to be brave enough to call that in real time. I did, because, you know, it's a shocking tackle. It's a leg-breaking tackle. It ticks all the boxes for it to be a red card. It's endangering an opponent. It's got speed. It's got intensity. It's got force. It's an awful tackle. It's a leg-breaking tackle. It's a career-ending tackle. And Paul Tierney, who was in the VAR hub, absolutely didn't help Sam Barrett out whatsoever. So I can half excuse the referee, even though I want the referee on the field to spot that, because if you're going to improve, you need to spot that in real time. But Paul Tierney in the VAR hub, I mean, I've got no idea. I can't give him an out. He has to give him a red card. He has to tell the referee to go to the monitor. He has to instruct him to send Tarkowski off.
But Seb, if I may say, I was in the studio yesterday, and I said, this is a test for everybody sitting in the sofa watching a football game. If you turn around and there's one in the sofa who says he takes the ball first, okay, it's no free kick, then he has no clue about football. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that these people are sitting in the VAR bus. They have an education of looking at things. I mean, where do you find proof that that's not a red card? Stevie started by saying that's a week in jail. I think that is a mild punishment.
I've said for a long time, Seb, I've said for a long time that an ex-pro should be in the VAR hub, and not for any of the rules of the game.
Yeah.
Not for the rules of the game. I would never lean on an ex-pro to be in the VAR hub, to lean on him for the rules of the game. That's the referee's job, and they know the laws inside out. But I know as a player, because I've done what Tarkowski's done. I think I've been sent off 6 times in my career when the red mist has descended. I've been there. I know exactly what a leg-breaking tackle looks like. And I could say within 1 second, and the boys could, and I said it in comms last night, you will not get an ex-pro who says that shouldn't have been a red card. And within 1 second, an ex-pro in the VAR hub could say to the referee, Paul Tierney, that's a red card all day long, and give them the reasons why. It would be cleared up straight away because, as I said, I've got no idea why Paul Tierney didn't help Sam Barrett out last night.
Stevie, you mentioned it in yesterday's show. That might have made a difference if there had been an ex-pro in the booth. You're kind of our former IFAB guy. You think that makes a difference in a situation like this?
Shouldn't in a situation like this, in all
because
honesty.
It's so obvious?
And that's my point here. And while I understand what Don is trying to say, I think Don is being very kind. There's nothing brave about making that decision. There's nothing that happened there that only an ex-pro can spot. That is as awful a challenge as you'll see in the game. Just plain and simple.
Has he just missed it in the derby? Is that?
Can't miss it.
No referee should be missing that. I cannot excuse that anyway. No referee, whether we had VAR or not. As a matter of fact, my only kind of question around this is, have referees become so lazy in a lot of the job that they do, or certainly around the big decisions, that thinking, I will sit on the fence here and wait for VAR to call and tell me otherwise. That's the only kind of if, and, or but here. But there is nobody who's in charge of any football game at any level should let that pass. None. There's no excusing it at all.
Last word. Go ahead.
No, they still do, Shaka, and that's why I support, and I've said it all along, that's the same as Don is saying, because sometimes these people find a rule and then they work backwards. But a pro would see straight away what Tarkowski is doing. Because he can say, I was first on the ball, but it doesn't matter, because you can hold your foot back. And we know this season, and we know, I remember Casemiro was sent off. It was quite milder than this, he was sent off. There's a lot of situations, but I think that a pro will see it differently in those cases, Shaka, because then you don't need, like we talked about that today at the Stamford Bridge, they used 4 or 5 minutes to understand something. And I think that you need some voice in there saying, no, he tried to do that, finish. Don't look for a rule.
Yeah, but to your point, Jan, we're not talking about non-league referees. We're not talking about third division. But supposedly, these are the best referees in the country.
But how did he miss it,
Supposedly, these are the best and most experienced referees.
Some would argue in the world.
Why do you think they missed it? Why do you think he missed it, Shaka?
I cannot. That's what I'm saying. I cannot understand or explain it, and I'm not even going to try to. I find it preposterous that we're having this discussion. That a top-class referee missed that. That is as bad a challenge as you will see in football today.
If Shaka can't explain it, I think it's a good moment to leave it right there. Turn our attention now to the top of the Bundesliga, where Bayern Munich are enjoying a 6-point lead over the defending champions, Bayer Leverkusen. On Wednesday's show, we brought you part 1 of Archie Rintut's sit-down interview with Harry Kane. Here's part 2, starting off with the latest on Bayern's mounting injury list.
With the injuries that have hit in defence right now, I think there are probably a few less assumptions even that it might be straightforward for you guys. How do you deal with that?
3 of our defenders go down within the space of 5 days, I think it was. It's a pretty brutal one to take, but that's when you lean on the team, and we know as a squad that's our biggest strength. There's no excuses because everyone has to deal with injuries and setbacks. We've dealt with that well throughout the whole season, and there's no time to stop now.
If you took a step back, how would you analyse your career so far?
Yeah, pretty good, to be honest. I've done a lot of things I've wanted to do in my career so far. Of course, I know the team trophy is the one that everyone will refer back to, but whether I finish with 1 trophy or 20 trophies, ultimately it won't change my mindset in what I want to achieve and how I try and achieve it. We have another opportunity this year to win some trophies, and that would be incredible, and maybe that would stop that noise around me a little bit. But I think in football in general, you're always going to have people who doubt you, people who criticise you. The most important thing is that you know what you're trying to achieve. Your teammates respect you for how you work, and the club respects you, and the fans respect you, and that's ultimately who I care about.
It feels like whatever you haven't done seems to get levelled at you more than what you have done. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so that's kind of the summary, really. I know when I've played good, I know when I've played bad, I know when I'm helping the team in ways, even when I'm not scoring, etc. I know, there's a lot of people out there who, talk about football and commentate on football, or, do stuff on football who don't really understand football that much. So having people who critique you is part of the game, is part of life. It's how you let it affect you, which is the difference. And look, when it's all said and done, when I look back on my career, I just want to make sure I've done everything possible to be the best I can be, and ultimately the opinions of a lot of people just don't matter.
Is it a relief to kind of get away from that mentality that we have in England, where it seems to be build them up, then knock them down?
Yeah, I don't think it's just in England though. I think it's everywhere. I mean, me, for example, this season I won a few games without scoring, and there's a big crisis talk. I scored a couple against Leverkusen, and this Ballon d'Or talk. So it's like this. It's the high and the low is too far, and you can use the good moments as confidence builders. And you know, when people are talking well about you, it's nice to use that as confidence, but then don't let that get carried away into being complacent. And then when people ain't talking great about you, you can use it as fuel and motivation. And as long as it don't then become self-doubt, etc., then there's always a balance to it. And that's just the part of life that you have to try and figure out.
Great work, as always, there from Archie. Jan, I'll start with you here. Do you think, one, that this is the year Harry Kane finally gets his team trophy? And what do you think of the chippy edge there to Kane in the interview?
Yeah, I like that. It was a bit edgy. I like that. I like Harry Kane, what he's saying there. He could be more like that in the interview. I like that. Harry Kane will win the title. I mean, Stephen, we were sitting here for years. We were finding a way to Bayern not winning. And last season, they did. Leverkusen won it. And now for the weekend, we say again, if they lose in Augsburg, things are going maybe a Leverkusen, but Leverkusen get knocked out by Arminia Bielefeld. Okay, then we have to say Auf Wiedersehen of their season. But Harry Kane, I mean, we have to give him credit. He's been a fantastic ambassador for England and English footballers and for himself and his family. The way he's taken on Germany, I mean, I tried to find some metaphors. We have to go back to Kevin Keegan in the 70s or the Beatles in the 60s to see Englishmen with that success in Germany. They absolutely love him, and why shouldn't they? He's been unbelievable, scoring goals for fun, and I'm happy for him that he now finally get that trophy. Could end up with 2. I don't think they will win the Champions League at home in the final, but he will win the league, and he deserves that. He's like I said, a great ambassador.
Jan, he's 31. How much longer do you think he'll stick around at Bayern Munich?
Oh, he could stick around for a while. We saw Robert Lewandowski knocking in the goals. And the good thing as well is when you play for Bayern Munich, they will always create chances. You have so many good players in and around you. You have a Musiala, they're dreaming on Florian Wirtz. They have Leroy Sané. They can always play you into good position. There was a bit scared. He was linked to going back to England. He got a clause. But that clause he had to kind of get in writing some months ago, and he hasn't done that. So he will stay there. He will win more titles. I think that a guy like him who is looking after himself, the way he's playing, he's going a bit deeper, he's playing his role, good at crosses, he can stick around for 2-3 more years. I can even see him going back to England to end his career. The modern day footballers are so fit, so they can just keep on playing.
You know, if there's anyone on this show that has a history of kind of predicting where Harry Kane will end up in the future, certainly is Don Hutchison, so I want to give him the opportunity right now.
Come on, Don.
Don, there is still, the Premier League all-time goals record out there for him. You think that'll eventually draw him back to England?
Maybe. I think what you have to remember when Archie asked him the question there about his career, what you have to remember were people like Harry Kane and all these guys on this list here. These guys are in the 1% of the world's population. So you've got to be very careful when you ask someone about their career, because these guys are elite athletes. I'm pretty sure Harry Kane will have that little eye on Alan Shearer. So I think Jan's right. I think at some point he will come back to the Premier League to try and beat that. But I don't see it in the immediate future unless he's... I don't think it's an Arsenal. I don't think it's a Chelsea because of his Spurs connection. So the likelihood is probably Spurs down the line. He's being linked with Liverpool for the start of next season. I mean, what a signing he would be if he left Bayern to go to Liverpool, because he'd remind me of a sort of Firmino, that sort of link player where he'd still score his goals, but he'd get Mo Salah if he stays a lot more goals. He'd get Luis Diaz a lot more goals because he's an intelligent footballer. He plays the game right. He comes deep. He's done it for years. Even when he comes deep and gets his assists, he's still reliable. As a midfield player myself, you beg for a centre-forward that's going to keep hold of the ball and show intelligence so you can make runs off him and get in the box. And that's what Harry Kane brings to his whole game, apart from 35 to 40 goals a season. So I don't see him moving on. I think he'll try and win a few more trophies, and good luck to him, because I think he's got unfair criticism, and I think he brushed it off quite well in that interview with Archie.
Let me ask you boys to put yourselves in Harry Kane's shoes, an either or. You either go back to the Premier League and get that record, or you stay in Germany, you win a couple leagues and a Champions League. What are you doing?
Me? Yeah. In Germany. Yeah. If the choice is between the Premier League record and winning Champions League, I take Champions League. If it's a straight swap between.
What about just the Bundesliga, but to have a team trophy attached to his name?
And get the goal scoring record, but no more.
No. I'm saying either or. You got to make a choice.
Right.
So you either have a team trophy or you have the all-time record.
Right. So you go back to England, get the all-time record, and no silverware with it, but the all-time record. I take trophies.
Stevie?
It's a no-brainer. You take the trophies.
Really? Even if it's just one Bundesliga?
Well, if you look at the percentages, the percentage chance of him breaking the record against the percentage chance of Bayern winning the next 2 or 3 Bundesligas, it's a no-brainer. It's a Bundesliga all day.
But if
and you're a striker.
But if that was his big target, then he would have stayed. He would probably be there now. He's 47 goals up to Alan Shearer. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, there was something called football before Premier League, and Dixie Dean scored like 260 goals a season for Everton. So please, that Premier League record is great, and Alan Shearer should be proud of that. He was a fantastic goal scorer, but when you compare that with trophies, unfortunately, I just won the Norwegian League. I haven't won many trophies, but the reason you're in football is to win trophies. And also what I liked when Harry Kane went to Munich, he said, it's also for me and my family to develop, see some new places. I love that. That is a statement that I like.
Jan, can I ask you about Bayern Munich in the Champions League? Because obviously they've got Inter Milan. If you look at what the odds makers are saying, Bayern are actually pretty heavy favorites. Should they be?
No. They shouldn't. I think that Inter will knock out Bayern, and I will. And I'm not saying that because I'm against Bayern. I want Bayern to go all the way. But I've seen Bayern so many times this season. If we are harsh on them, because I would say they deserve to win the Bundesliga. Vincent Kompany has kind of get them into a mood that people like to see them. But how many good games have they had this season against good opposition? 1.5. They were good at Leverkusen, very good at Leverkusen in the Champions League. They won at home. They were a bit lucky. They were a better team, but it was not a great game. And with all these injuries, and with Martinez or Arnautovic, Çalhanoğlu, there are so many potential match winners in that Inter team that I don't understand that. For me, Inter is the favourite to go through.
Yeah, I can't help this. I've got to ask you, do you really believe that line about, well, we want the family to grow? I mean, really?
How you end up back there?
How do you really?
That's of everything Jan said.
Craig Burley is teleported.
That's the thing you take most offence to.
I mean, seriously,
man.
Yes, we're going to because the family wants to grow. Yeah, right. I'm sure his wife was delighted to go to Munich.
This is funny, Stevie. When you said, "Listen, Jan, do you really believe?" I thought. Quick through my head, what did I say now? Okay, 1, 2, 3. In Inter, their defense, and you started with his family. Yes, I do believe that.
We reached back there. Oh God!
Can you tell me one footballer who went? Can you tell me one footballer who went abroad, never came out with that line?
Stevie, leave it. It's all right. It's all right.
Every single one of them.
Stevie. It's all right. Leave it, Stevie. Leave it. We've moved on.
I want to open my horizons and my children and my wife and family.
Do they all do it with their arms like that?
We want to sample the culture of another country and a new way of life.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. I feel so bad for the people listening on the podcast who can't see the gyrations here.
Sorry. You have to apologise.
Don, quickly, Don calls a ton of Serie A games. I was kind of surprised to hear Jan say that Inter are going to get through here and be so confident in it. Do you agree with him, Don?
I do agree with him. I'll tell you how the game's going to go at the Allianz. Inter will go there and get a 0-0 draw, and they'll beat them in San Siro. I go back to the game against Arsenal when Inter played Arsenal, and Inzaghi's a tactical genius. He's very, very underrated. And in that Arsenal game, they're arguably their best 2 players. There's loads of players that Inter have got, but Bastoni's a brilliant left-sided centre-back, and Federico Di Marco is one of the best left wing-backs in world football. He dropped the pair of them for the Arsenal game. And he played a young kid called Jan Bissek, who's physically very strong. He played him instead of Bastoni. He didn't play Di Marco on the left-hand side. He played Darmian on that side, who normally plays right. And they stopped Shaka. They stopped Ødegaard. They recognised where Arsenal are strong down the right-hand side. And they got the result. They'll do exactly the same, in my opinion, to Bayern. And they'll knock them out in San Siro.
You okay?
But 3 weeks ago you said...
Yeah. But what about Inzaghi's family, Stevie?
3 weeks, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago you said Inzaghi. Oh God.
All right, got some. Oh, no news here. Just the top 5 under 21 players in the world. There's actually a list of 39 over on ESPN.com right now, courtesy of our in-house scout, Tor Christian Carlson. No surprise, Shaka. Number 1 on this list is 17-year-old Lamine Yamal. Hard to pick at that.
Probably the youngest on the list, in all honesty. I don't think that there can be any argument as to who's the best young player in the world today. As a matter of fact, Lamine Yamal has now gone beyond talking about best young player in the world, and the debate is where does he rank in best players in the game right now, such as has been certainly his performances for both Barcelona and Spain. Outside of that, I think it's about just kind of a preference, whether you go with Wirtz or Jude Bellingham, Kubasi in at 4th, João Neves, Zai Emery in at 6. Again, a lot of those are interchangeable. But there's the one position that there's absolutely no debate is Lamine Yamal.
You see it that way too, Stevie? That he's clear? I mean, there's some good names on this list.
Yeah, I don't think you find anybody right now that would change the number 1 spot. I'm with Shaka completely, 100%. Whatever you prefer in a football player, you could argue whether you want Kubasi to be higher because he's a defender and there's not that many young defenders. But you certainly can't argue with the likes of Wirtz and Bellingham. So, yeah, I think the top 5, you cannot argue with it at all. You could argue, other than number 1, you could maybe swap a couple up or down. But in terms of the top 5, I think they've got it absolutely spot on.
Jan, you're a big Florian Wirtz guy, yeah?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his, but I also followed Jude Bellingham's career where I was stalking Erling Haaland at Dortmund. I more or less saw every game that he played for Dortmund, and I would have probably put Jude Bellingham in 2nd and Florian Wirtz in 3rd. But wow, because of his position, he's gone to another club. He's taking the presence of that team, being a leader in Real Madrid, probably the best team in the world. But wow. I mean, that is just the taste of the day, I guess.
Don, you moving anybody around in that top 5?
No, not really. I tell you one who's a little bit unlucky is Ekitike. He's 22, so he's missed out by a year because he would have been in the conversation.
No goalkeepers.
Here it comes. The Union.
Very biased.
Yeah.
Very biased.
Yeah. It's because they cut off the list at 39.
Oh, is that what it is?
I'm sure there would have been lots of young goalies.
You
could check out the entire list over on the website, ESPN.com. It's the best young players under the age of 21. And there you have it from our in-house scout, Tor Christian Carlson. Lamine Yamal coming in at number 1. And we won't have this in Football America. Because we save it for ESPN FC. Shaka Hislop's Power Rankings. Shaka, talk me and walk me through it.
I'll just rifle through the first 8 in all honesty. I don't think there can be much argument who are the best 2 teams in Europe right now and the world, in Barcelona and PSG. Real 3rd, Liverpool, while sitting top, have been anything but their preseason selves. Inter, who I fancy over Bayern, I'm with Jan on that. Arsenal, Galatasaray, Ajax. Newcastle won last week, but dust settles, have stopped celebrating. So they're down to a more understandable 9. And Arminia Bielefeld, the story of German football over the last day, into the Pokal final. They get a mention. They got a whole lot of love.
They didn't just get a mention. They got
a whole lot of love.
Have we ever had a 3rd-tier side in the top 10?
No, we have not. Not 3rd tier.
History here on
not 3rd tier.
Should have been higher, though.
Well, because they're 3rd tier, I was debating how high I go with it.
I just want to show how unbiased I am. How can Newcastle be behind Liverpool? They've just beaten Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final,
right,
and they've just won the next game.
Yeah,
Liverpool just got beaten in the Carabao Cup final and won the next game, but Liverpool's at 4, Newcastle's at what, 9?
Liverpool are champions elect. It's let's be honest, the league title is over, but the shouting.
So it's about what's going to happen.
It's
It's not about what happened.
The algorithm
It's about
is so
what's going to
powerful,
happen.
It predicts the future. I think
So
that's
you got a
really
crystal
big.
ball as well.
Liverpool are top of the Premier League. They're there. Just leave
But
it.
Newcastle beat them.
Yes, I know, and they're there, but they're fifth at the table.
You know what? Do you know what? You're right.
Oh, no, they're
You know what?
sixth. They're
You're
sixth.
right. Don't let facts get in the way.
No, facts just confuse me. They confuse me. They do.
You're right.
But
Jan?
I didn't have my glasses on. But that power ranking.
Can see it again.
Nottingham Forest. No.
Didn't see him.
No.
Didn't see him, Jan.
No.
Didn't
No,
see
no,
Forest.
No, I didn't see Forest.
No.
They're third in the league. They were 17th last season. You put Bielefeld in there. Okay, Bayern out will win the league. But okay, Shaka.
Jan, where are you broadcasting from, just for accuracy's sake?
I am in Nottingham.
There it is,
Exactly.
there.
That's a talent, that.
So I can
That's a
turn
talent.
around and I can see Nottingham, and I go into the power
that's
ranking,
right.
and I can't see Nottingham.
You
Unbelievable.
just try. You just,
Playing to the crowd.
that's it. We just trying to get a free
We need some
beer.
serious analysis.
That's all
of
it
this.
is.
Don
That's a
Hutchison.
genuine talent Jan's got.
What's that?
He's able to see what he can't see.
Yes, yes.
Powerful.
That is talented.
Don,
I'm just surprised Shaq hasn't got Newcastle 1 from now to the end of the season.
yeah,
Yeah.
fair play. I mean, if ever.
Ride it, Shaq.
I'm
Keep riding it, Shaq.
trying to be fair and impartial. And this is what I get for being impartial.
Shaka, you are our friend. I know you try to do your best. It's not good enough, but you try to do your best. So thank you.
Hey, did I see Galatasaray in your top 10, Shaka? Did I? I see Galatasaray in your top 10.
I can't remember.
Yes, they were in your top 10. We just saw the graphic. There they are at 7.
Yeah.
I'll remind you. I know the algorithm does a lot of the work, but
Yes,
they were in
yes,
there.
yes.
Hey there, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome into the ESPN FC studios for this edition of Extra Time. I had to hustle over and get the questions here. But first, I'm told there's a very funny video that we need to watch of an alligator? Is that right?
Oh, I was hoping it was a fish.
That's what we call in the business a roll cue. A golf and gators. What more could we want?
Wow.
This is not a Connecticut course, Stevie, I'm assuming?
Wow.
Oh my days.
This is random. How,
Eyes of that.
Shaka, you and Stevie are
what's
golfers,
the tie in
right?
here? But how are we just rolling alligators in the middle
How
of
we
extra
linking
time?
this?
Just
Do you know
How we
what's
linking
amazing?
this?
yeah. Why?
You're about to see. You want to watch some magic? Watch what Steve Nichols going to do
No,
here.
it's amazing though because I was golfing in Florida with a mate of mine, and he hit a ball in the water, and it went. Well, he didn't know it was in the water, but it went in on the edge, right? And he's over there, and he's looking for it, and I go over in the buggy. I went, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm looking for my ball." I said, "There could be a crocodile or something in there." And he went like, I said, "Don't worry about it." I'm like, "For a golf ball?"
Yeah, I don't get it.
They're expensive.
Honestly,
No, they're not that expensive.
he couldn't
Pro
find
V1.
it, but it didn't stop.
Pro V1.
No golf ball is expensive enough for me to go and wrestle an alligator.
Pro V1's a
Actually,
good
you
ball.
know-
I'm sure of that.
Pro V1. I'm in there.
I told you the bear one with Craig.
Yeah, you and Craig, I remember. You had the video, right? Or a picture, was it?
No. So Craig and I were golfing where we used to play years ago. So we're on the green, and he's about to putt, and this bear was probably about 20 yards off the front of the green, and it walked across the fairway, and it got halfway, and as it got halfway, he dropped his putter and walked over to where the boggies were. And as he walked over to the bogey, he wasn't watching what was going on. So the bear was actually, it went round the back of the green and was going away. So because he wasn't looking, I thought, I'll just run and see what he does. So I go over to the edge of the green by the bogey and I start running. I'm going, run, run. And he went like that, what? And then he started running. And then he turned round and he saw it was going away. He was like,
Do you know what I thought he was going to say there, Sebby?
It was fantastic.
I thought Stevie was going to say the bear got in the buggy and nicked the buggy. Drove the buggy away.
Yeah.
I was a little bit lost during that story.
That would have been great.
Bear's doing what?
I thought he would say that the bear just saw it was Craig, and he thought he was so grumpy that he ran away.
All right, first question here from Khalid. Gyökeres to Arsenal, yes or no? Ooh, okay, we've talked about Arsenal signing a striker forever, it feels like. What do you think?
Yes.
Yes?
I'm going to
yes?
go yes. Leave Isaac alone. He's a happy man
Okay,
where he
all
is.
Okay.
So
they could do better, but not.
I'm starting that petition right now.
Stevie, is that the guy you'd go for? Certainly the position you'd go for.
No, I think there's a couple of guys you would go for before him, but would he make them better? Yes.
Okay. Don?
I tell you, yeah, I mean he would. Benjamin Šeško's been linked for quite a while, but I think he needs a little bit more work. He's not the finished product yet. He's a good player, Šeško, but I think Gyökeres definitely. But the one I think who's had a really good season, I think would suit Arsenal, is João Pedro at Brighton. I think he's an excellent centre forward.
Nadim's interior decorator has our next question. Obligatory percentage question for Don. Ooh, percentage chance Newcastle finish top 4 is the question, but I think we're going to do top 5 here, right? Because that's a Champions League spot.
Yeah.
So percentage chance they make Champions League.
I still think it's about 25% because I think there's 4 teams all the way down to Villa who can all make top 5. So I think Newcastle are in it. The fixtures are difficult. They've just got to ride the wave. I think Jan said before about the victory against Brentford last night after the Carabao Cup final was unbelievably important because they couldn't afford to sort of drop points. It would just sort of deflate them a little bit. So that was a big win. So, yeah, why not? But I'd say about 25%.
So all 4 teams have the same percentage? Is that how Don just copped out of that question? Copped out of the
Hey, not all of us have an algorithm at our disposal.
No,
Who's the 4th?
Don is getting clever now because he knows that if Newcastle is 25% chance, Nottingham Forest can have 45. And the mistake Don always did, he wanted to keep it under 100. He has learned now. He has learned now, Don Hutchinson.
It's just what the algorithm's telling me, Shaq.
I'm just checking your math. Just checking.
Jan, do you think Don would have lost his bet to Ale if he had consulted you first on Sorloth's goal-getting ability? I believe. What was it? Was it 9.5, Don? 9.5 league goals?
I tell you what it was, Jan. I said he wouldn't score 10 league goals in La Liga this season. What I should have said was he wouldn't start 10 games. He's hardly played, but every time he comes off the bench, he nicks a goal in the last 5 minutes. So I owe Ali.
Why did you think that when he goes to a great team like Atletico Madrid, he won't score enough goals?
Because he never started.
He nearly won the. Yeah, but he nearly was the top scorer last season. Nearly.
Yeah, but he doesn't play. He doesn't play, Jan. He's on the bench every single week. So I knew he wasn't going to get in front of Alvarez. I knew he wouldn't get in front of Antoine Griezmann. So I knew he was going to be on the bench. But I mean, honestly, the impact that he's had by coming on for 5 minutes here and scoring a goal, or 10 minutes there and scoring a goal. So basically, I've lost the bet to Ale and I promised him a steak and a lobster dinner because he's got more than 10 league goals.
The problem with Alexander Sørloth in Norway is that Alexander Sørloth will end up beating the old goal-scoring record, but whatever Alexander Sørloth is doing, Erling Haaland has done it better. Anything you can do, I can do better. So he is just one of them. So he's doing so fine in the La Liga, but Erling Haaland scored more anyway.
Are we talking about Haaland now? How we get there?
How does Haaland get in there?
Yeah, that's
Haaland
so
got
random.
The Norwegian racing fish.
I didn't mention that the internal scout or Christian Carlsen was Norwegian, so I can be all Norwegian tonight.
Yeah, and Strand Larsen Norwegian.
He is Norwegian. 10 goals for Wolverhampton. That is a performance.
You never mention him either.
No, but he's not better than Alexander Sørloth. He is a great
started 10
prospect.
games. That's my contribution.
Yes, good.
You're welcome. You're welcome, world.
Production is yelling in my ear to ask you if Norway's ever going to make the World Cup, Jan.
Oh, man.
Well, last time
I'll ask the same about Sweden because they got a lot of good players too.
This is the last time I will speak about myself. Last time we were in USA, Norway were there. First time since 1938 that time. But I think we got a chance, and we play Italy at home the 6th of June. We have 9-2 goal difference the 2 first games. If we beat Italy, and we will beat Italy the 6th of June, then we're through. But wow. I talked to the national coach yesterday. Do you think he's praying to every god in the world about the injury of Erling Haaland? And I mention Haaland again, sorry.
They're on the way back then. The Italians are on the way back, Jan. Be careful.
Watching his Syria.
First game against Germany is very sad.
Our next question is a bit of an emotional one because it comes from Oscar Rodriguez, who's part of the production team here at ESPN FC. This is his last day.
Oh.
I'm very excited because he's chasing the dream of being an on-air reporter. He's going to go to Oregon and do it in a small local market, so good luck to him. Great kid, good future. He asks, if you could be one person from the FC crew for a day, who would you be? Ooh.
So you're asking us?
Yeah, who? Yeah, all of us, I guess, yeah.
Right, who would you be?
Oh, that's a
I think I'd be Steve Nicol. Because I think he's the most relaxed out of everybody here.
I'd be Frank LeBeouf. I'd
World
be an
Cup
actor.
winner.
I want to be an actor.
Yeah, that's.
And I'd wear.
But you don't have a great head of hair.
Well,
Take that trade-off?
that's easily fixable. I'd put on my full France kit,
Go visit Jose Mourinho.
wear my World Cup winners medal, and walk around Paris all day long.
I'd definitely be Shaka.
Was that?
Well, he's always on vacation, he sleeps a lot, and he doesn't have to bother taking the dogs for a walk, because after about 100 yards, they're knackered, because they're about 4 pounds in weight. Shaka, perfect.
Yeah.
I'd definitely be Shaka.
All right.
100%.
Sebi.
Don,
I'm going for Sebi.
whose life do you want?
What? I want yours, Seb. I want yours because I always think my life's a bit crazy and a bit manic, but I know yours is a million times worse or even crazier. So I want to be you for a day, then I can come back to mine and go,
Yes.
actually, mine's
Yeah.
not that bad. Sebi's is nuts.
You know what's funny? Is that Don is spot on about the manic nature of my life, but he's probably the person in this group that's hung out with me the least. It's just so on brand. It's just so on brand. It's painful. Jan, quickly, who do you want to be? Just for a day.
I think I will go with Shaka. I think that I have to relax more, lie on the beach more, sleep, get more sleep. So I would be with Stevie on that one.
Boy.
He's tired now. He's wants to sleep now.
Shaka doesn't even want to be Shaka.
I've got a very busy life, you know. I've got a very busy life.
Hey, y'all go to bed. He's got Football Americas later. So,
That's right.
You know.
Yeah, you could be me today if you want. Go on.
Jan, is
Go do Football Americas.
Yeah. Jan, is it kind of odd that Alphonso Davies has yet to make a public comment about his injury, given the fact that everybody else has made a public comment about his injury, of course, as sustained while playing for Canada during the international break?
Well, I think there is a rule in football, and we've all been involved in that. If there's something with a national team or our club team, you should keep your mouth shut because you can only lose. I mean, yes, there's been big discussions in Germany, and we remember Dresden coming out, and he will get a lawyer, and they will sue the Canadian Association and so on. So I think it's a good advice for Davies to stay low, to stay calm. So I think that never comment on those situations. He can only lose.
Dan's fancy dress shorts.
Oh, God.
If Chelsea failed to secure a Champions League spot, and given their financial situation, do you think they would prioritize winning the Club World Cup, especially considering the potential $125 million in prize money?
I think they'll try and win it anyway. I
How
think
can
they'll
you
try and win it anyway. I think Man City will use it as a sort of pre-season for the likes of Rodri and one or two others that are injured. I think Chelsea will try and win it.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, but it's not prioritising it. You're going to win it.
The prize money is in Anthony.
For these teams are on preseason mode. Like you if you're going after you kind of got to prioritize it, right?
No. So you're going to jeopardise your Premier League season to win the biggest Mickey Mouse trophy.
Stevie, they've got 64 million players. They've got 7 goalkeepers.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If they do prioritise it, then they're going to use the proper players. They're not going to use the conference team. And that means they're going to harm themselves when it comes to the Premier League. So you really think they're going to do that? Not a chance.
Stevie, me, you and Shaka, we were over there last summer for Chelsea's pre-season in America, and they were abysmal, weren't they? So they can use it, and they played all the first-team players as you do in pre-season, so they could just think that's, well, it's just not a glorified pre-season because it's 125 million. No, I know
They
that.
weren't trying to be abysmal.
But at least they can play these games like it's teeing them up for the Premier League, and if they qualify through the early rounds, they might get close and think, well, now we'll play our stronger side if they get to the quarter-semis or finals. I think everyone will, apart from City.
Well, that means they wouldn't prioritise it, though. Because if they prioritised it, they wouldn't wait until they get so far without playing the proper team. So
Exactly, and I think that's a good point. You will see in the group stages that they will see how far they get. I think some of the when you see Bayern, when you see Manchester City with their statements, that's what they're saying. If they come through the group stage, then we'll see if we get a big guns out. That's the feeling you get.
For all, will there ever be a third division side in England make a run to the final in either the FA or Carabao Cup, like Bielefeld did in the Pokal? It is really like a crazy story.
Hold there, Leslie.
Haven't the
Hold there.
Ooh, are we testing the memory bank?
Semi-final of the FA Cup.
Chesterfield?
Was-
Chesterfield. Borough.
Chesterfield.
Yeah, but
Borough.
there's
Sean Dyche.
and
Sean Dyche.
yeah, but there was another one as well. When the guy in Dye scored, they signed him on the Tuesday and he scored the winner in the quarter-final. They got to the semi.
But not a final. Not a final.
Yeah, but they got to the semi-final.
The question is, make a run to the final, Stevie.
Well, if you get to the semi, there's a chance you're going to get to the final.
Okay. All right. So you say it's
Wycombe Wanderers.
a possibility.
Wycombe Wanderers.
For
It's
all
possible.
young
Yes, it's
viewers,
possible.
For all young viewers, when old people do like this, they're thinking. They're thinking.
To answer that question, Sebi, it's never going to happen.
I've got a father in his 70s. Jan, I know.
Unfortunately.
Never going to happen.
All right,
Never
our
going to happen.
last question here comes from @Dan Thomas, ESPN.
Oh, okay.
Why does Don look like a skunk? Did he dye his hair to celebrate a Newcastle
He
trophy?
does have a Pepe Le Pew.
There's a bit
Pepe
of a
Le
quiff,
Pew look,
though,
doesn't
yeah.
he? He does have a little
It's
bit of
the
a Pepe Le
quiff.
Pew going on.
Yeah, it's a quiz. I'll tell you what's happened. I'll tell you what's happened.
Meet me on
I'll tell
camera
you what-
3.
I'll tell you exactly what's happening. I'm not going to lie. I had my hair cut, right, about a day and a half ago, and the girl was great, but she's given me a bit of a blow dry. So it's gone a little bit quiffy, and I can't get it down. Can it get it down, man? So it's a bit quiffy. So give it a couple of days, it'll be back down in its
Get the
normal
iron.
place.
Take a shower.
Get an iron on it. Get an iron. Yeah,
I'm
I'll
having a
get it
shower.
done.
I'm not having a shower. She's cut and blow dried it.
Get a pair of scissors and
wasting
cut
that
that thing
shower.
off. There you go.
Well, walk around with a weight on it for about an hour and a half. That'll do it.
Ah, boy.
No.
There we go. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Extra Time. Thank you so much to Don and Jan for hanging out, and thank you to the viewers for getting us those great questions. ESPN FC, available 7 days a week. Don't miss a single episode here on ESPN+.